Nico, Brian, Mike, Dustin. It's Ken McGreen, aka Scott from The Walking Dead. And I'm here to ask you, don't go out there. Hope you have tons of fun with the podcast, and I wish you much success. Don't go out there.
They've conquered the big screen. Now, get ready for the spin-off sure to send chills down your spine. It's Nico, Brian, Mike, and Dustin in Don't Go Out There, the series.
Welcome back, everybody, to DGOT, the series. We really appreciate y'all listening. We hope y'all have been enjoying these series reviews. I know we have. It's been a lot of fun. Just want to give a quick shout out to our website, don'tgoouthere.com. Everything about our podcast is on the website. All of our episodes and interviews, if you want to check those out. We've done some incredible interviews in the past. Go check them out there in a specific tab by themselves so you don't have to scroll through hundreds of episodes on Apple or Spotify, etc. We also have our store if you want to grab a shirt, a mouse pad, a hat, all that good stuff. We'd love to see your pictures, rep your favorite podcast. And Shan's Etsy page is also attached if you want to grab a tumbler. All of our social media links are on there as well. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. Like us, subscribe us, follow us, all that good stuff. And the last thing I want to shout out on our website is our Patreon. We call it Blood Donors. We have the traditional monthly reoccurring kind. If you want to support us, help us pay the bills, as we say. Or if there's a movie you want us to review, that option is available as well. Just check out our website, don'tgoouthere.com. Also, if you haven't noticed, we've recently joined the Believe Network, so there's some ads on our program now. But if you want ad-free content, go check us out on Blood Donors. The ad-free episodes will be available there. We appreciate your support. We are continuing on with episodes 3 and 4 of The Walking Dead Season 2. I'm doing the scene by scene tonight. I'll be really quick with my general thoughts. I don't remember what they were, so I'm going to be remembering whenever I do the scene by scene, because at the end of last week's episode, Brian asked me, so am I just going to keep watching 2 episodes at a time, or am I just going to go ahead and binge it? I told him only 2 episodes at a time, but Saturday I binged that whole joint. I couldn't stop watching it. It was so good. Every episode just kept happening. Something new kept happening where I couldn't change the Netflix. So I watched the whole thing. I kind of remember what 3 and 4 happened, but yeah, this season was great. I could give my general thoughts on the whole season at the end, but yeah, what a season. I thought it was really good. Brian, what'd you think?
Good. Definitely a tale of two opposites here on these 2 episodes, but both are very good. And that won't make any sense until I get into it, but save the last one, I thought was just incredible. Scott Gimple did just a fantastic job with that episode. And I mean, Cherokee Rose was good too, but it's just some of the stuff that happens in that episode, it elicits such an emotional response from me, especially at the end, that it makes me eager to get a solution of the problem, which we'll get into. But while a good episode, I just don't like to watch that episode. So hopefully I'll be able to explain myself a little bit when we get there.
I think it's because you don't like Daryl. I'm just kidding.
No.
Man, that's crazy, Brian, because I almost had the opposite effect where, I don't hate episode 3, but I really like Cherokee Rose. I think episode 4 is really, really solid and kind of starts another, part of the story that I really enjoy. But both episodes are really good. I'm a big fan of this season. I didn't get as far as Nico, but me and Catherine did binge episode 5, 6 there. So we're not quite 2 at a time, but we're working our way through. She gets home a little too late for us to binge, so I'm not going to full on binge, but I'm excited to keep watching. Again, I like these episodes. I think we're really getting into some good character development here, man. And my last words are fuck you, Shane.
Yeah, I thought both these episodes were really good. I like both of these better than the first 2 episodes of the season. For different reasons. Like Brian said, the second one is a much more emotional episode, but they both have developments that have consequences for the remainder of the show. And so I think some really good groundwork is laid here. And it's not just they're planting seeds. We see, fruits of the labor bloom. We see things actually happen, but still they do such a good job of tying it all in throughout the whole story, which is really hard to do when you got 12 seasons of a show to make stuff from season 2, episode 3 matter 9 seasons later. Like, that's crazy. So I really like these 2 episodes.
Yeah. This is such a weird season, man. Like, I made a TikTok video about it. Weird season, but I loved it. And I'll touch on that when we get to the end. Let's jump into the scene by scene. The episode starts with Shane buzzing his head as the shower runs and the epic Walking Dead theme plays. Otis and Shane are being chased by walkers in the school until they reach a dead end. Rick is telling Lori a Shane story as she holds Carl's hand. Rick tells her Shane will make it back with what the doctor needs, and Carl is going to be all right. She asks him to keep his own strength up and eat your sandwich, Dave. Shout out to Wayne Brady. If you know, you know. Carol is crying in bed, and Daryl can't sleep hearing that and Andrea fiddling with the gun still. He gets up, asking for his clip so he can go look for Sophia. She tells Daryl she's going with him, and Dale doesn't think it's a good idea. Shane and Otis are in quite the pickle, and Otis tells Shane a plan to make it out that makes sense for a man his size. He fires 3 shots, and shit immediately goes wrong for him. He leaps down and is hurt. Shane assists with some headshots, sparing him time, and he runs off in the other direction. Shane goes to jump out the window until a walker grabs him. He misses the bushes, causing a leg injury. He hears some shots from inside as Glenn and T-Dog arrive at the farm. Maggie greets him as she notices T-Dog's arm wound. She has him go in the house to make them some grub. Herschel is monitoring Carl as they check in with Grimes. Parents' worst nightmare as he tells them they will have to make a tough decision soon to operate. Daryl and Andrea are looking in the woods as he tells her the time of being lost for 9 days, eating berries and wiping his tail with poison oak. Lori is on the porch debating if children are meant to be in this world. Why do we want Carl to live in this world? To starve and see carnage until a terrible death? Rick wonders what changed with Lori. Jackie doesn't have to be afraid anymore. That's what changed. Rick doesn't accept what Lori says and questions why she's okay with Carl dying. However, Rick doesn't have an answer to her why it would be better another way. All right, Brian, opening set of scenes. What do you think?
So this episode stands out because of a few things that they hadn't done on the show up to this point. The way it's shot is different. Phil Abraham directed this one. He won an Emmy for outstanding cinematography on Mad Men, but also just the way it's out of chronological order and just how it's like so character centric on one character. I mean, this definitely feels like Fuckface Shane's episode. And I love that it's cut this way because you definitely could have had this in chronological order and it'd still be a great episode. But having it cut and written like this, which, by the way, this is the first credited script for Scott M. Gimple in the series. He would go on to become the showrunner of the show and the extended Walking Dead universe. But having it set up this way really gives us that mystery of like, okay, what happened with Otis? Breaking Bad did this a lot, but it just shows like when an episode is out of chronological order and done right, it really can just be a standout episode. And this one was to me. Going back to the open, Rick's voiceover telling the story of Shane in the high school while we see like he and Otis running in the school hallways from the zombies, I thought was brilliant. I love the lack of saturation as well. It wasn't just dark; it was desaturated, and that wasn't lost on me. I enjoyed it. Fun fact: the zombie extra who grabbed Otis on the gym floor, real life double amputee. And what also wasn't lost on me is something that I think the later ones sometimes forget about, and that's the little things like Daryl laying in the bed and just sweating just makes it seem so much more miserable. Like, they're really just giving you that atmosphere. It makes me put myself in their shoes. I love the realism like that. And the last thing, and I'll shut up, the conversation with Rick and Lori about Carl raising a kid in this world, I honestly can't fathom. Like, that is a very deep conversation and great performance from Sarah Wayne Callies. I want to give her flowers. I don't think I'd have an answer if I were Rick either.
Yeah, I think that's totally fair. Honestly, I touch on it here in a second. Honestly, I want to pull a Shane really bad because I'm losing my hair. That's why I wear a hat on almost every episode now. I want to shave that shit just like him. My wife won't let me. And that, people that listen to the show, please reach out to her and let her know it's time for me to shave this shit. It looks like crap. I look like Hulk Hogan in 1986. I mean, what are we doing here? Anyway, listen, I know it's the apocalypse and we're all hungry and food is scarce and everything, but that sandwich that you're trying to get Rick to eat look plain as fuck, guys. That's not going to get it done. That's not what we're going to do here. Again, I completely understand this woman crying all night if your daughter is missing. But there's no way I could sleep in the same space as her, man. Not only are you making all this blubbering noise, but it is hot as fuck, like you mentioned, Brian. Like, you could just tell everyone looks so goddamn miserable. And And again, I wanted to touch on this. I wasn't on for the end of season 1 there, but I get Andrea's dislike of Dale. Like, again, the woman was kind of wanting to have the choice be in her hands, and he took it out of hers. And so, again, I like their story as it starts to develop here. They go to the high school gym all full of zombies. I'm filling that whole gym with uppercuts, motherfuckers. No walkers left unturned. God damn it. Filling the whole thing with uppercuts. Let's go. Maggie. Call me sometime, Maggie. That's all I'm going to say. Again, love the back and what, man? What? Anyway, I love the back and forth here with Daryl and Andrea. They have great on-screen chemistry. They really do. They almost have like this side quest together here. In this episode, they do a great job on-screen chemistry. Okay?
She doesn't do a good job at anything.
Okay. Well, that's later. But anyway, I've also had the itchy ass while being in the woods. Like I've been there. I've done that. I wiped my ass with the wrong leaf one time on Bullshit Creek, right outside of Camp Lesser. It's the name of it. I can't help that. And that was not a great time. Last thing I have here is, Lori really isn't making bad points. If we're just looking at it objectively, it would be easy if you were living in this world to say, why would we want to raise him in this new society that we live in, this new world? And I completely understand that. I mean, to have to live day by day in a hellscape where dead fucks are always after you, it doesn't sound like a great time. I mean, again, the human will to live is strong, but man, I don't blame her for those thoughts crossing her mind. I don't agree, but I don't blame her. So that's it.
All right, yeah, it's a very unsettling open with Shane in the bathroom shaving his head. It just paints the picture like he's unstable, and how it's shot with him staring at himself in the mirror afterwards and it being a cold open. Then after the opening credits, we get a good cut to him and Otis with a good monologue from Rick over top. This is a very tense scene because last we saw it didn't look good for them getting out of that school. Also, I can't believe I never realized this, or at least I don't think I realized it before, but I never realized it until this watch through, that Otis was played by Pruitt Taylor Vince, a.k.a. Father Hennessy from Constantine and Malcolm Rivers from Identity, and countless other things. That's crazy. Like, look directly at him, had close-ups of him. He didn't even look the same to me. I don't know.
In my next group of scenes, the first sentence says, "Did we mention that Otis played Father Hennessy in Constantine?"
Yeah.
So I'm glad you did.
That I don't know. That blew my mind when I realized it, and it shouldn't have. And we cut to Rick and Lori. It's a great scene. Rick is trying to hold it together. Lori's a wreck. It's very believable stuff, very well written. After that, I know Daryl contemplated ending it all. Man is trying to sleep, and between Carol crying and Andrea click-clacking her gun, that just seemed absolutely miserable. Nope. Otis and Shane, they had a decent plan until Otis fell and Lieutenant Dan almost got him. But Shane freed him up, and you kind of start to think that the two of them are going to make it back to Herschel. So, all right. When Shane jumped out of the window, all I could think about was the other guys. Aim for the bushes? Like, they really missed an opportunity to have There Goes My Hero play over top of that scene. Pretty awful outlook from Lori at the end of the opening set of scenes here. Like, no matter the state of the world, life is life. It's precious. I couldn't imagine considering not fighting to save your son. I get that it's bleak, but still, that's crazy. But at the same time, Rick not having an answer that's not selfish is tough too. Like, no matter what he said, it would all sound like he just wanted to have his son.
Right.
That could be taken as selfish when the whole world has gone to hell and there's no quality of life. So that's really good, really well done. It's a very solid open.
Yeah, the writing for this season is just top notch. Shane is hiding out until he opens fire on some walkers. He's hurting and backs into a fence as more walkers appear. Otis appears and kills the other walkers, pushing Shane, and the two get away for now. Rick and Lori share some awkward silence until they hear Carl cough. He questions where they are and tells his mama she should have seen the deer. It was so pretty until suddenly he goes silent and has a seizure. Rick immediately offers more blood despite the possibility he could go into a coma himself to save Carl. Carol joins Dale on top of the RV asking which way Daryl and Andrea went. We cut to them in the woods where they find a note on a tree and a man hanging. Got bit and tried to kill himself, but he's just hanging around like Beetlejuice. Andrea pukes seeing his legs with all the missing flesh, and Daryl tells her he's not wasting an arrow on him. She's sympathetic towards him, and he asks if she wants to live now. She offers an answer for an arrow, and Daryl kills the hanging walker, disappointing with her lack of an answer. Carol tells Dale not to worry about Andrea, she's with Daryl. He asks Carol to be on lookout so he can go look around. T-Dog gets his arm examined and is in agonizing pain getting stitched up. Glenn goes to do some front porch sitting as Maggie joins him asking if he's praying. He admits it was his first time ever trying to pray. He asks Maggie if she thinks God exists. She wonders herself with everything going on in the world. She leaves Glenn to pray, getting him a refill of his drink. Dale is looking around and it cuts to Rick telling Lori about Carl's deer scenario. He tells Lori there's still a life for us. It isn't all death out there. Rick emphasizes Carl talking about the deer, being alive, and embracing the little things of life. All right, Brian, that's the next set of scenes. What do you think?
I don't have much on this, Mike. The question of mortality, living in this world being so prevalent in this episode, again, that's something that wasn't lost on me. We had it with that very moving scene between Lori and Rick on the porch at the end of last set of scenes, but we get it here with Angela and Daryl and her not being sure if she wants to live or if it's just out of habit. That's a pretty damn good line. Now, I truly couldn't be less interested in Dale and Carol. Like those two, when they're on the screen, I was like, oh my God. It just feels like, oh, we got to show what's going on with them. And guess what? You'll never guess. Dale's getting on my nerves. Complete shock there. But we do get our first real moment between Maggie and Glenn on the porch. And it's crazy to think what this moment led to and how, like Dustin mentioned, Carl getting shot in the last episode would just play off of that and really shape the entire rest of this show. That's all I have for this set of scenes.
Yeah, I cannot imagine being in the shoes of Otis and Shane here. But I tip my cap to them for their bravery, but I don't know if I'd make it, man. These knees ain't what they used to be. I'm out here tripping. Come on, man. That's it. I had surgery, man. Come on. That's not a man. Go fuck yourself. I don't care your birthday's coming up. Fuck you. Anyway, but back to something a little more serious here. If this happened with my son, again, I don't have a son, but if I did, that little brief wake up just for him to kind of roll over and have a seizure of sorts would make it all the more devastating. Like I almost would him rather just be sleeping and breathing and be in that same calm state that he was. This would absolutely terrify me. It gave me kind of chills when I saw it the first time. Again, this interaction with Daryl and Andrea on their little side quest is fun. It's entertaining to me. They have good banter. It's the writing. Look, you don't have to like the characters, but the writing for the two characters is really good in this scene. I'm a big fan. Got bit, fever hit, world gone to shit, might as well quit on the fucking note is awesome. I told Brian I want to put that on a t-shirt. I think it's a great t-shirt myself. And I think like 4 people will get it. So maybe not. I don't know. You mentioned Dale being annoying. Yes. Dale's protection over Andrea is really fucking annoying. Like, hey man, the rest of us are here too. We fucking matter. We're trying to survive. We're trying to live out here. Fuck you, Dale. Glenn, very interesting character to me because he is brave. Like we've seen him be brave multiple times now, but he still gives off bitch vibes sometimes. Like, he still gives off scared boy vibes occasionally, but he's one of my favorite characters as the show goes on. So I like Glenn a lot. I like this, and there's a lot of it in this episode where they kind of talk about God and his existence and, things of that nature. It would be 100% natural for anyone that's gone through what this group of people has gone through to question the existence of Christ and God. It would just have to cross your mind at that point. And so I love Rick's monologue here. I mean, he wasn't even talking to me. He was talking to Lori, and it gave me hope. And I'm not even looking for hope. Like, I was inspired by Rick, man. I was like, damn it, he's right. I would fight these fucking walkers, these bastards. I'm uppercutting everybody. Go ahead, Dust.
Yeah, good stuff with Otis saving Shane here. These two are going to be all right. That's good. Really good stuff when Carl woke up, like him wanting to tell Lori about the deer and having a glimmer of excitement. That was really good. When he had a seizure, though, I immediately thought of the SpongeBob theme. Then drop on the deck and flop like a fish. I apologize for that one. I shouldn't have said it. I laughed when Glenn said the clap venereal disease. Between that and Daryl's Poison Oak story, that was some much needed and well-placed comedy to break up all the tension that we've had. And I really like Carl talking about the deer. The that gave Rick the answer he needed to tell Lori. It's a great way to end this set of scenes. Also, their whole debate, what to do. Should he live in this world, blah, blah, blah. Reminded me of Michael from First Reformed. Like, Michael didn't want to bring a kid into this world in its current state, and Lori doesn't want Carl to live in their world. Only difference is she's talking about a 144-month abortion, which is crazy. Go ahead.
Yeesh.
All right, Shane falls over, dragging Otis down with him. Shane tells Otis they ain't going to make it and to take the bags. Otis says, I ain't leaving you behind, and they count their bullets. The two hobble away, firing some shots at the pursuing walkers. Herschel tells Rick and Lori that Carl is losing blood faster than it can be replaced, and it's time to make a choice. Lori says we do it, and the family goes into operation mode. They transfer Carl to an operating table, and he tells them they may want to step out as the blue truck arrives. Shane hobbles to them with the supplies and tells them Otis isn't here. Herschel says not to tell Patricia until after. Rick and Shane hug as Lori looks on. Shane tells Rick Otis said he'd cover for him, and when he looked back, they had gotten Otis. Maggie cries hearing the news. Back to Dale and Carol, who see lights heading to them. Carol goes back in the RV, and Dale stops Andrea and gives her the gun back and apologizes for making choices for her. He begs her not to make him regret this. She offers to take watch, and Dale asks if she forgives him. All she says is she's trying. Glenn consoles Maggie, and she tells him who's lost in this ordeal. Herschel tells Rick and Lori Carl seems to have stabilized, and they are elated. He asks him how he tells Patricia about Otis now. Rick joins Herschel to break the news as Lori goes to Carl. She sees Patricia break down in tears as she tells Shane to stay. Shane doesn't stay and is told by Maggie the shower is upstairs and she has clothes for him, but they probably won't fit. They were Otis's clothes. Awkward. Shane looks at his wounds in the mirror and relives the moment with he and Otis. It's revealed Shane shot Otis in the leg and left him for dead. Shane begins buzzing his hair as we see the two men squabble and Shane getting away and back to the truck. The episode ends with him looking at himself in the mirror and wasting some damn hot water. Go ahead, Brian.
That's true. Crazy foreshadowing at the start of this set of scenes where Otis won't leave Shane behind. At least I thought it was foreshadowing. But, after Lori makes the decision for Rick to move forward with the surgery without the equipment, it's just balls to the fucking wall the rest of this episode. I mean, it is killer last 15 minutes. Now, when Shane gets back, Barenthal does such a great job of acting here because you don't know what happened at all, but because of the way that he acts and the way that he tells the story, okay, he's not telling us something. So he's acting to deliver the lines, but he's acting in a way to tell us that he's not telling the truth. And that's really damn impressive, in my opinion. And I think it shows this guy took an oath in the old world to protect and serve. But in this new post-apocalyptic world of just eat or be eaten, he's got to do what's best for he and his. And I get that. It's realistic and it's a nice parallel to what we've seen from the other characters. We got some in the first season, but we didn't know them. This is the first time we're seeing that arc, and I really enjoyed seeing that. But yeah, watching Otis eaten alive was just holy shit. It was such a damn good episode. Definitely my favorite of the bunch so far. But also, who wants to tell Shane that when he shaves his head, he should still have a hole of missing hair because it was pulled out. It wasn't just shaved. So anyway, another nearly flawless episode.
All right. Here goes Lori changing her answer because she was inspired. I knew she couldn't stand on business. Of course she can't. But she can stand on shit. Anyway, fuck, man. What happened? Whoa. What'd I say? Anyway.
No lies.
I said, I'm not telling lies. Shouldn't stand on business very often. Anyway, fuck, man. Poor Otis. Killing off genuinely good people. And like you mentioned, the foreshadowing, he fought for Shane, and Shane didn't fucking feel that way about him, man. That shit upset me, brothers. Dale out here begging, though, guys. He begging, man. Begging her to forgive him, and I don't think she should. One, you're being really annoying about it. If you just kind of shut the fuck up, I'm pretty sure she'd get over because you guys have to live together. Got no choice right now. And I think him just out here trying to do the right thing, or I don't know, man. He's annoying as shit. Glenn, she was out here grieving Otis, practically begging for a hug, brother, and you just didn't know what to do. I'm just saying. Honestly, if this show had balls, I'm glad they don't. because I haven't seen every season, but I've read some spoilers. If the show had balls, maybe it would have killed off Carl here. That would have been a crazy death. Talk about stakes in the second season. That would have been crazy. But Lori, being a sneaky woman here, you're not fucking fooling anybody. This, again, Shane was going to leave, and you basically begged him to stay. Fuck Shane. That's all I'm going to say. I don't care what anybody in this group says.
Fuck
this
Lori
man
too.
fucking, yeah. Oh, 100%. Buddy, I just said she never stands on. That was my way of saying fuck Lori. I don't care what anybody in this group says. Fuck Shane. He's never right. I don't care what he says, especially in the next episode. I understand it's a kill or be killed world, but this man fucking sucks, man. I just feel so bad for Otis. Fought to the end. Like, Otis didn't go down like a bitch. He fucking tried to fight his ass. And, it took a little piece of hair with him. So, again, I think the only reason he shaved his head was so fucking, they wouldn't get any kind of suspicion there. But anyway, fuck Shane. I don't care what you say, Nico.
Yeah, so we go back to Shane and Otis, and they're doing it. They're escaping. And they got back just in time. I mean, just in time. Oh, wait, it's just Shane. The way he sold it to Rick, that was scary. When you see what really happened, it makes you realize what a sociopath he is. Good stuff from Glenn consoling Maggie. Get in there, big dog. Lay the foundation. Great news when we hear that Carl made it, and a real gut punch seeing Patricia break down like that in the kitchen. And when we see what went down at the school, Shane is a dirtbag. I remember the first time I saw this episode, I got a bruise on my chin from my jaw dropping like that. And it's still shocking. That was just despicable behavior. It's an incredible ending to a great episode. This episode had tension and drama and an all-time twist. I gave it a 9.
Y'all guys got any fun facts you want to share? Any trivia?
Nope.
All right. Next episode, Cherokee Rose. Episode starts with shots of the farm as we see them gathering rocks for a burial. Daryl leaves a charge for others to make it to the farm. Carl's fever has gone down, and he awakes asking if Sophia is okay. Dale asks Rick how Carl is, and everyone starts hugging each other. Herschel leaves a eulogy for Otis as Shane stands there like that Miami Hurricane player who killed his own teammate. Herschel and Patricia ask him to share some last words, and Shane lies his ass off as we see what really happened. He tells Patricia if any death ever had meaning, it was his as he places a rock. Maggie shows them a map so they can go make a plan to find Sophia. Rick and Shane are out of commission as Daryl takes charge. Rick tells the group they will respect Herschel's request to not carry weapons on his property. Herschel agrees to a lookout man with a rifle as Maggie says she needs to make a run into town to the pharmacy. Rick requests Glenn joins her. Shane and Lori talk, and she tells him that she meant it. She wants him to stay. Maggie asks Glenn if he'll join her as she tells Dale the water situation. Andrea isn't cool with handing over her gun, and Shane shows her how to clean and assemble it. Rick checks in on Daryl, and it's a bit tense as Daryl walks off saying his plans fell through. Herschel tells Rick to not expect their farm to be permanent. Once they find Sophia and Carl is better, they need to leave. Lori catches Glenn checking Maggie out and gives him a list of supplies to pick up. T-Dog apologizes to Dale, saying he doesn't know where that stuff he said came from, and Dale reassures him that he won't say anything. Dale walks off and looks into the well and stops T-Dog from drinking. He brings the others and shows them that a walker has fallen into the well. All right, Bryce, opening set of scenes, what do you think?
Okay, so I got a little bit on this. So I remember seeing somewhere in the comics, I think it was mostly just Herschel having sons. And I don't think, unless I'm mistaken, that we ever see any sons, like just his daughters. But here at the Otis's funeral, like at the start of this, there are definitely some guys who walk up and pay their respects that I don't recognize. So I assume those are the sons, and I'm kind of, I guess I'm not remembering a whole lot of season 2, but do we ever even meet them, or are they even?
I don't think so,
and I
can't remember either. But they don't play a major role.
I mean, honestly, I was going to say hopefully that's not his sons, because that would make no sense to not interact with them at all. Again, unless I'm forgetting something. But hell, at this point, Nico's the one who's most recently seen this season. But the speech by Shane also plays into what I said last group of scenes with how Barenthal delivers these lines. Just honestly, fantastic performance from him once again. The fact that I hate his character doesn't mean it's not because it's a fantastic job to make me feel that way by him. One more thing I just want to complain about, though, is Sophia's storyline. At this point, to me, it drags a little bit. Like, I mean, we're on, I think, episode 4 of looking for her from when she was missing. And I don't know how many days have passed, but it does get a little long in the tooth for me. And yeah, it's resolved eventually, but I almost think part of me, without giving spoilers, almost thinks that given the resolution that we get, we could have just found her earlier, if that makes sense. But it's almost just a reason to have more one-on-one time with characters. And I think all of this you could have done not looking for Sophia. That's all. I can't say too much more, but it's just my opinion. And yeah, it's just I'm fired up because goddamn, I hate Lori for the bullshit that she pulls between Shane and Rick. And
Yep.
yeah, like we find out later about what Rick does and doesn't already know, but I don't. But you can maybe defend. Oh, she thought he was dead. Blah blah blah. Well, now defend this because she's now asking Shane to stay. She's now giving this man hope, and maybe part of her still has a thing, but she wants her cake and to eat it too. Now now that Shane has saved Carl. So I'm sorry, she's a piece of shit in my eyes. And just think again, without spoilers, Rick now asking Glenn to go to town to help Maggie and what repercussions that has for the rest of the show and all the rest of the 11 seasons. Like Dustin again mentioned last episode.
Again, I feel like a motorcycle would either be a really good thing to have in this world or a really bad thing, depending on the gas and all that you had saved up. My man Daryl rolls in on a fucking motorcycle. Carl is a good kid, man. At least here, first thing he did was ask about someone else. How is Sophia? I like this kid. I'm glad that he made it here. This scene at Otis's funeral is maybe the first time the show makes me genuinely feel uncomfortable. I know some bad things have already happened, but this is an evil thing that Shane has done here, and it's delivered so well. This is a great performance. It made me genuinely hate this man with every fiber of my being that he was able to basically stand on his grave, for lack of a better term. I love the way it's shot. I love the score that plays. I think it's really good. Again, I get what Rick is saying here, that it's, this man's rules, but come on, old man, no guns. We live in a fucking zombie universe, man. What the hell do you expect us to protect ourselves with? Anyway, I actually like that we're about to get a side quest with Maggie and Glenn. Again, I think you guys know a little bit more than I do as far as Maggie's story and everything. So maybe I shouldn't like this little side quest here with Glenn, but I was happy for Glenn. That's why I like the side quest, which we'll get to. I'm also over, Brian touched on it a lot. I'm kind of over the awkward tension with Shane and Lori. Like, I feel like there's so much better story stuff here that we could really dive into and uncover. This weird love triangle thing just doesn't really move me, especially because Shane's already hateable enough without it, right? And again, Lori, it makes Lori really unlikable, in my opinion. Again, this, this asking Glenn to get a pregnancy test. Oh shit! This fucking I won't call her the word I was going to. I'm going to be a nice man here on the air. What?
Little Debbie, double cream pie.
Yes, sir.
Oh, you weren't a part of the first season when we reviewed it. That's right.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
so funny story about that. When she was gallivanting in the woods with two guys on the same day without bathing in between, I made the comparison. I called her Little Debbie. I said she's a double decker oatmeal cream pie. So
awesome.
this past year when I traveled down to Tallahassee and stayed with Nico, I stopped at the gas station, got a double decker oatmeal cream pie, and I printed off a custom logo that was Lori's face on Little Debbie. And I changed it. It didn't say Little Debbie. It said Lori Grimes, and I taped it to the oatmeal cream pie and hand delivered it.
That's great. It's great. Find that picture, Dustin. It's great.
Yeah, I'll find it.
Find that picture again for me. I can't do any better than that. I'm not even. We should end the episode there. We're not going to top it. The only thing I'll say is, I know this comes back later, but who knows how long these assholes have been drinking that water with this nasty looking fucker in there. That's not good, Bob. Not good. Go ahead, Dustin. I can't top the fucking double cream pie. That's great.
All right, yeah, we get a touching moment when Carl wakes up and his first reaction is to ask about Sophia. And Rick and Lori made the right call. Like, he needs to rest and stay stress free, so no need to worry him here. At the ceremony for Otis, I don't know how Shane could live with himself there. I mean, what a scumbag. He did tell the truth, though. He wouldn't have made it out alive without Otis. He needed someone to sacrifice. Shout out to Rick for volunteering Glenn to go with Maggie. Man's the ultimate wingman and doesn't even know it. I laughed when she told Glenn she heard he knows how to get in and out. He's like, what? But that was funny. More of Andrea being a stubborn tryhard. It should have been her instead of Otis. I completely understand Herschel's stance on telling Rick that this can't be permanent. Like, on one hand, there's strength in numbers, but on the other, it's a huge risk to bring in more people, more mouths to feed, more people that can make noise. So I understand Herschel completely. A lot of mystery and intrigue when Lori asked Glenn for discretion with the personal item, and we don't hear what it is, but she says it's in the feminine hygiene section. So I thought that was well done. Then a great moment with Dale having T-Dog's back and saying, "What stuff? I couldn't get a word out of you all day." Dale's a real one there.
T-Bag moment.
T-Bag, that's my bad. T-Dog. I try to say T-Dog's back too quick.
Yeah.
Come on.
Sigourney Weiner all over again.
It happens. Absolutely disgusting Walker in the well. That thing was waterlogged and looked absolutely disgusting. It's a slower open, but really good story development.
Can I say too, like, whenever she first said it was in the feminine hygiene section, my first thought did not go to pregnancy test. My first thought was, now she's cleaning that thing. But I mean,
buddy.
Hopefully I wasn't the only one that thought that.
I thought tampons are pads.
Oh,
hey, listen.
Okay.
Anywho, you know that section of scene by scene that you write way too many notes on? That's this one, guys. So just bear with me or just tune me out. Y'all know the breakdown, so just read your notes. Glenn asks how long they think it's been down there. They can't kill the walker in the well. They got to get it out alive to not contaminate the water. Herschel and Rick look at the map, and he has Rick look at the view. Herschel tells Rick it's good to sometimes pause and feel what you feel. Herschel asks Rick about God's hand in his life situation, and Rick thinks God has a weird sense of humor. Like Mike mentioned, I would be questioning a lot of things about God right now. The rock on a string doesn't.
It's funny. It's funny because like believers in that state of the world would be like, "Oh, there is no God. Clearly, He's turned His back on us, whatever." But then non-believers would be the ones, like we saw earlier, turning to God and trying prayer. So it's really an interesting dynamic.
Yeah, we touched on that last week. You're right.
100%.
The rock on a string doesn't work, so the only Asian guy gets volunteered to be the pinata for the walker. Glenn is lowered down, and his trust must be put into Shane's hands to save him. I was not feeling good for my brother Glenn, but luckily I looked at his IMDb, and he was in a lot more episodes, so I knew he survived. The valve the rope is attached to breaks from the bolts, and chaos ensues. The group hangs on for dear life so Glenn doesn't get got. Glenn makes it out thankfully and walks away from the drawing board. Daryl finds an abandoned house and enters with crossbow drawn. He hears a noise from a room and sees a blanket and pillow on the ground. He goes outside calling Sophia's name. Somehow the walker has the noose on its neck, and they fish this ugly gobbledygook out. His body splits in half, and his lower torso all spills back into the well. Failed mission, and the well is to be sealed off. T-Dog bashes his head in, joking, "At least we didn't do anything stupid like shoot it." And I laughed at that. Carol asks Andrea to save the thoughts and prayers as her spirit breaks more and more after still not finding Sophia. Andrea asks Shane when she can carry her gun, and he mansplains it's different shooting a moving target compared to a paper target. This motherfucker Shane now tells Andrea you got to turn off the switch that makes you angry or sympathetic. It's not easy taking another man's life, but when you do it, you have to forget it. He says he hasn't quite got that last part down yet. Glenn and Maggie are on horseback, and Glenn says he usually does this alone. He asks her about the face she made seeing a walker killed up close like that. They make it to the pharmacy where they're greeted by a sign that says, "To take what you need and God bless." Glenn does his best in the feminine hygiene section where he's confronted by Maggie for having condoms. She asks him if there's something wrong with her, and she says she'll have sex with him. She takes her hat off and kisses him. She tells him he's not the only one who's lonely as she undresses. All right, Brian, next set of scenes, what do you think?
Not to well, actually, you, Nico, but it wasn't a rock that they lowered down on that zombie. It was a canned ham, and because I said, why the fuck are they wasting a canned ham? But
Oh, was it a canned ham? I'm sorry.
Yes.
You know how when you're taking notes, you're just looking up. My fault.
I got you.
Yeah, the only
Sorry,
reason
I
I
did
could
that.
tell what it was is because they said, canned ham ain't going to do it. He needs a living target.
Yeah.
Okay.
Only
I missed
reason,
that. That was my
only
fault.
reason I knew was because it looks like the shitty ass ham for Christmas with the cranks that rolls out in the middle of the road and gets run over. That's how I knew.
Jesus.
I just got actually 3 times. Fuck you.
Yeah. Damn.
And I got one more. Well, actually, I don't think they lowered Glenn down because he's Asian. It's because he was the smallest person there. So,
God
Got
damn,
him.
y'all leave
Got
my
him.
brother Nico alone. It's his goddamn birthday. What the fuck?
Anyway, to this swimmer in the well, he looks fucking disgusting. The suit that waterlogged Walker wore actually weighed approximately 60 pounds, and the actor Brian Hilliard had to spend 2 days in the well in that stifling Georgia heat in what was effectively a heavy wetsuit covered in latex. God damn. But speaking of that zombie, there's only one zombie that was it in the whole episode. So this one's definitely more of a breather episode, I guess, given all the excitement, I think, with Carl and Otis and Shane in the last one, which to me, I mean, doesn't make this one bad. And it has some, you guys mentioned it at the start. I know Dustin did. So it has some very pivotal scenes that you can't just call this one filler. So far and away, not that. But it's just more of a character building episode without so much action, which is fine because, I mean, there was a lot of shit in this that created very strong emotional reactions from me. And it's probably not what you're thinking. But Rick talking about his struggle with God to Glenn almost biting it in the well. I mean, we still got some big moments. Now, when Daryl was in that house, I wish we would have gotten a zombie kill there or hell something. I mean, anything would have helped, I think. But I truly do think that it was a budget thing. Like Dustin, I think, mentioned last week, Frank Darabont at this point is no longer the showrunner over that dispute. And I think we touched on it last season during the review, but basically AMC wanted him to produce double the episodes on a smaller budget than they even had last season. So I think that went into things, decision-making process, like not having Daryl run into a Walker here, for instance.
Man, my notes started the same way as yours, Brian. That thing looks fucking hideous, man. That looks disgusting and gross. I actually really like the scene with Herschel and Rick here. Rick kind of questioning the existence of God or his beliefs is a theme throughout these 2 episodes in general. And I think it was a really effective way also to kind of combat Maggie's comments to Glenn in the last episode. What Herschel was saying, trying to find God still in these hard times with, and giving examples of it. So I like their interaction quite a bit. I'm not gonna lie, I laughed my ass off when they threw that ham down there. That shit was hilarious, man. And the comment about, they didn't die to raid our cabinets or whatever, I thought that was great. Again, if I'm Glenn though, I'm kicking everyone's ass when I get out of this well, bro. You not only did you, basically make me go down in this well, you fucking dropped my ass, and I still did my job. Go fuck yourselves. I'm beating everybody's ass. Uppercuts again. Everybody gets an uppercut. Daryl's quest, not as entertaining as a loner. Just going to be honest, I missed the banter back and forth with him and Andrea. So again, this thing looks fucking gross. The gut splitting scene, again, the effects were whatever, but it was still really disgusting. And after all that, you spill everything in there, ruin the water source. Great job, everyone. Great line from T-Dog here when he said, good thing we didn't just shoot him. Oh, loved it. I thought that was like, yeah, finally, fuck you, Dale. Anyway, I love the sign at the pharmacy, take what you need and God bless. I was like, yep, that sounds about right in an apocalypse. And I don't care what Brian and Dustin say. Let's go, Glenn. Get you some, brother. I don't care what it smells like in there, brother. You got to get what you got to get. And he did get, indeed. I don't blame him one bit. I would do the same if I was in his position. Go ahead, Dustin.
I love Glenn. I don't know what you're talking about. Insane plan to use Glenn to fish for the Walker. He's too nice. There is no shot that I would agree to that. They would have had to throw me down that well. And when the pump came out of the ground, holy cannoli, tension and suspense through the roof, and some really cool camera work to go from outside the well in an overhead shot to zooming down in on it. That was cool. The ultimate boss move from Glenn to have still roped the walker. What a G. And the well ripping in half was, or the well walker ripping in half was disgusting, but also frustrating because T-Dog, what are you doing? You could have grabbed his legs and pulled him out. Like, you weren't in danger. They had him roped. He couldn't get you. He might have tried to scratch you, but get down low enough. He can't reach you. That was so frustrating. Could have saved the water supply. And yeah, it took 4 takes to get the splitting of the waterlogged walker right. So I know it was hot out there. Great job having Maggie turn away and be appalled. Like, when the thing split in half, you may think that she's just not used to it or she's still grossed out, but finding out what we find out later with the barn, I think that's great foreshadowing. When Andrea, Shane, and Carol leave the supplies on the hood of the car for Sophia, did anyone else notice the Daewoo behind them? When's the last time you saw one of those cars? Crazy how fast they came and went. Daewoos were like everywhere.
Killed you with my Daewoo, motherfucker. Pineapple Express, let's go.
Yeah, great movie. Glenn cracked me up when he was riding into town with Maggie. Man is awkward and has no game. I felt that. I'd be nervous around her too. And it was hilarious when he was just trying to protect Lori's secret, so he just grabbed something random, and it turned out to be Jimmy's. That was great. And holy cow, it worked. Attaboy, Glenn. Suddenly the end of the world doesn't seem so bad. Solid set of scenes with much more comedy to set us up for the ending.
Yep, here's the ending. Rick and Herschel walk the grounds seeing the others at camp. Rick asks him to reconsider them leaving. Rick says he's a man of belief and makes a case for Herschel to think it over. Herschel tells Rick how terrible his father was and doesn't regret not seeing him on his deathbed. Rick asks him to consider his request. Herschel tells him he will consider it, and the two shake hands. Rick joins Lori and Carl, saying he'll sit with him as Glenn and Maggie make it home. My man's gleaming with happiness as Lori runs to Glenn asking for a secret request. He hands it over and walks away from her. Daryl makes it to the RV and gives Carol a Cherokee rose. He tells her the story about the flower, comforting Carol, saying this flower bloomed for her little girl. Carl awakes and reveals he knows about Sophia. Carl tells him it's okay, and he says they will find her, and asks if they will find her. Carl says he's just like his daddy now. They've both been shot as they share a laugh. Rick lets Carl wear a sheriff hat since he joined the club. Rick tucks his son in as they share an I love you. Rick leaves his badge by the table and undresses as Lori watches on. He puts his clothes and badge in the drawer as Lori joins him and helps take his shirt off, asking if he's putting it away. She hugs him, asking him to stay with him longer. She's going to wait up. Lori goes outside and walks off into a clearing. She takes a pregnancy test, and it comes back positive to her dismay. Brian, that's the ending. What'd you think?
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. All right, so by the way, was it in the first 2 episodes that we ran across that entire truck of distilled water? Though, I mean, didn't someone even make a comment on here about how they're wasting all that water by Shane putting it all over his head or whatever? Mm-hmm. Why couldn't we just get that and drive that shit to the farm? Just throwing that out there, but okay. But yeah, I mean, almost, there's a little fun fact here. Almost the entire cast showed up to watch the filming of the scene between Norman and Melissa McBride when Daryl explains to Carol the meaning of the Cherokee Rose. This marks a pivotal moment in the characters' relationship, and the cast and crew were eager to see it unfold. Again, just another groundbreaking thing that happens in this episode. Now, the other would be the end. Just fucking, it pisses me off to no fucking end. I mean, it's the thing that I told you I take personally based on past experiences, and was one of those things that I was talking about at the start where it elicited like such an emotional response. It was one of those driving forces that made me just have to continue on to find out what the fuck the response to this was going to be. I hate that this was the direction that we had to go here. I don't even know what else to say, honestly. It was just, also, it was the fastest fucking working pregnancy test I've ever seen, by the way. It was like instant. But I'm so pissed off the whole situation that I can't even nitpick the damn thing.
Yeah, those tests are usually like the longest 5-10 minutes of my life.
Yeah. I'm happy for you, brother. That's all I'm saying. Look, I agree with Rick here, right? I mean, I know he's like kind of trying to use his words against him, but again, Herschel kind of proclaims himself to be a man of God, and then not necessarily being willing to take this group in, even though they've kind of proven to be an asset, not a detriment, except for Otis, obviously, but accidents, quote unquote, do happen. So I like the interaction between those two a lot. And I like this little backstory that we get for Herschel and his upbringing. I ain't gonna lie, they're riding back in on a horse. Glenn went from cloud 9 to under the damn ground. God damn. I mean, I wouldn't have taken it so personal if she said it was a one-time thing because, hey, still hit it and you can't undo that. So that's all I would have done. I would have bragged about it. Anyway, this scene with Daryl explaining Cherokee Rose is fucking great. It's phenomenal. And it really got me reinvested in the story of finding Sophia as well. Just made you care. It showed a different side of Daryl that I hadn't quite seen up to this point. I thought it was awesome. 2 heartwarming scenes back to back, honestly. We get really good stuff between Rick and Carl here. It shows that Carl is a smart kid, but he's still a kid. And the hat, receiving his dad's hat made him really happy. I loved it. And again, Rick being a good dad here, I love their interaction. If I were him, man, back up off him, Lori. You don't deserve Rick. Fuck wrong with you? Slap the taste. I'm just kidding. We don't support abusing women on the show. But if another woman were in the room, I'd make sure she'd slap the shit out of her. That's what I'd do. Again, why does she have to go out so far to pee on a stick? Like, I don't know, just pee on the stick somewhere. And like you mentioned, Brian, how the hell did that work so fast? I've never seen one work that fast in my life, man. That's crazy. And they also played music, very ominous music, like she was about to be attacked by a walker. I'm like, no, man, she's just going out to pee on his pregnancy test. We don't need this dramatic ass music. But I'm with you, Brian. I'm just not invested in this love triangle as much as I am some of the other stories that are being told. So I just kind of hate Lori and Shane, and that's the end of it.
Yeah, really good stuff with Rick and Herschel talking. Just raw and real conversation that was really well done. Very awkward when Glenn gave Lori the pregnancy test, and also very admirable and honorable of him not to say a word about it. Just kind of gave it to her and kept walking. Really touching and emotional moment from Daryl and Carol. Just beautiful stuff. He has this rough and rugged exterior, but underneath he's a complex guy with a huge heart. But Cherokee Rose is actually an invasive species. Its origin is in Asia, and it's harmful to the natural plants here. So those things kind of suck. We get the nice moment between Carl and Rick here with the hat, and Carl wearing the hat is going to be a staple of the show going forward. Great seed planted there, and also a turning point. Rick puts his badges away. No more sheriff. It's like another part of this world died here, and he's starting to come to the grips with the reality of things. And then Lori, what a wild cliffhanger ending. Lori's pregnant. Ruh-roh, Raggy. Some great comedy in this one, some great storyline development, and some great tension and drama. It's a really solid episode. I gave it a 9 as well.
Dude, I like all 4 episodes so far. Like, I said in my TikTok review of the entire analysis of the show is like, I really don't love one particular character. Like I don't know how to explain it. Like, I don't really love one particular character. Like, they all at some point get on my nerves, like to no end. But the writing is so good, like spinning it back around to like, all right, now I care about this character. Like Dale at the end. I really like Dale's character at the end. Like when he's making his pitch to the group. Herschel has a really good, moment, at the barn as well.
Right.
Like at some point, every character gets on my nerves, but they get written back in a way where I like them again, and it's believable and it makes sense. Like I really liked it. Final thoughts, guys, on these 2 episodes. I thought they were both great as well.
Really good.
I got one little piece of trivia here. There's actually a town in Victoria, Australia called Glen Maggie. Don't we have some listeners from Australia? Verify that for us.
Let's put another shrimp on the bobby.
Speaking of shrimp, you remember when Dennis Quaid ate that shrimp?
All right, man. God damn it.
All right, guys. Any final thoughts of these last 2 episodes, or these 2 episodes of Walking Dead we just reviewed? I thought they were both great, Dustin. This is a great season.
Thought they were great. Fuck Shane.
Thank you so much, everybody. I'll see you next week. And in the meantime, take care of yourself.
Just want to remind everybody,